Problem set 6 is on business from the number strand. What is the main part of the cost price for 3 different products? For example, the material, the labor, the intellectual property, or other. Well, the main cost for cars is material, which accounts for 47%. Just looked up on the web. Petrol is mainly tax, but 30% of it is due to the price of oil. Authors make money from intellectual property. So, you write a book and then you have the copyright. Then you get your payments due to that. I mean, if you didn't have copyright, I could just photocopy your book and sell that at a few pence more than the cost of copying. In fact, copyright was invented in Ireland, but that's another thing. Give 3 different products where the main cost is different. Lucky the 3 I gave, for cars it's material. For petrol it's actually tax, and for books it's intellectual property. If you're getting a haircut, the main cost is labor cost. Give 3 products which have a low, medium and high profit margin. Well, petrol has a low profit margin. The guy at the petrol pump only makes a couple of percent. Books have a medium profit margin, 20-30%. High-end branded goods like an iPhone make a high profit margin. Or Coke versus a generic brand cola. On a slight aside, pricing is not just how much it costs to make it. If you do some business, you'll have heard of the 4 Ps. So, product, packaging, placement, promotion. So if you'd say, look at smartphones. Well, how do we distinguish between different smartphones? Well, we could look at the call quality. I mean, can you actually hear the person when you're making a phone call? Can they hear you? That was more an important feature for mobile phones as opposed to smartphones. What about the camera quality? That's more and more a big deal. Does it take pictures well in the dark? Does it capture video well? What about screen size? Depending on the way you use it, you might want a big screen so you can see things better, or a smaller one so it fits in your pocket easier. Then there's battery life. I mean, does it run out after an hour? or does it amazingly last for a couple of days? So they're all kind of product related features. You also have the difference between a high end and between a high, medium and low end device. So Apple would be high profit margin. Android would typically be lower. And in fact, you have a range of Android phones. So there's a whole spectrum within there. Some higher margin than others. If, for example, you're looking at property, well, it's more location, location, location. Just to complete the four-piece part, so if you're looking at something, the product is going to determine, if you're, say, buying, again, the smartphone, if it has good call quality, if it has all those good specs, that's going to differentiate between different phones. A phone which has a better camera than another one should cost a little bit more, since people would prefer the phone with a better camera. Why not? Packaging would be what the phone looks like. If it's a fancy metallic phone, that will be able to charge more than a cheaper looking plastic one. Placement would be, well, is the phone easy to get? So can you get it from a local store? So then it's easy to get replacement parts, get it serviced, as opposed to only having one shop which is hundreds of miles away, which is just inconvenient. And then there are promotions. So say it could be that the shopkeeper is trying to get rid of the stock. You've got loads of jumpers that you were hoping to sell over summer, but then at the end of summer, who wants a jumper? So the shopkeeper basically wants to get rid of all the jumpers that they have, and so can slash the price, get the profit margin down to zero, just to clear up. Otherwise, it could be that maybe you have a new brand of coffee. Now, the shoppers already have a brand that they like. But if you have a nice promotion, if you say, oh, you can buy this fancy coffee and it's 40% off, then the person might be willing to experiment, give your brand a go. So now I'm not going to make as much profit because I am giving a promotion, but I'm hoping that actually you'll like my coffee, and now when the promotion's over, you'll start buying it. So the main point I wanted here was that, of course, there's far more to business than just, the profit is the selling price minus the cost price. I mean, that you could have done in primary school. So back to the problem set. So if it costs €4 to buy something and you sell it for €12, what is the profit margin? Well, the profit is €8 out of the €12 cost or selling price. So the profit margin is 8 divided by 12, which is 66%. What is the markup? Well, the markup is €8, that's the profit, compared to the cost of the product. So you bought it for €4, you're making an €8 profit, so you divide 8 by 4, and the markup is 200%. Not bad. It costs €11 to buy something which sells for 13. So we do the same thing. What's the profit margin? Well, the profit is 2. You're selling it for 13. So 2 divided by 13 is 15%. What is the markup? Well, you bought it for 11, so it's 2 divided by 11. So the profit is €2, something we spent €11 on, so the markup is 2 over 11, which is 18%. If 10% of the goods got damaged, what would the profit margin be? So, say 10% of your product got ruined. So that means if I bought 100 items, that would have cost 1,100. I have to subtract 10% from my sales price. I'm not going to get 1,300. I'm only going to get 1,170. So then the profit margin will be 70, since I'm only going to get 1,170, and it cost me 1,100. So it's 70 divided by 1,100. So that's only 6%. Typically, if you buy stuff, you're not going to get to sell it all at your ideal selling price. You're going to have to give some stuff away in a sale because fashion has changed, and as I mentioned before, you're trying to get rid of your jumpers when winter is over. Finally, why not sell only high margin products? If I'm going to make more money per item I sell, that surely makes sense. Well, it's a different business. You need to spend more on advertising. You need to have more staff. And it'll be a smaller market. So it's not for everyone, since many would just want the basic product with better things to spend their money on. Why doesn't everyone travel first class when they're flying? Remember to subscribe to be sent the latest content as it's put up. Thanks.